Welcome to thestockminer.com. I'm Brian Johnson, and a big day for Apple. Now, we got the news, of course, on Apple, and Jobs taking a little bit of a hiatus. We've seen this before, and every time something happens to Jobs, the stock immediately tumbles. Doesn't matter what it might be. And this was no exception. However, as we've seen in the past, it doesn't really make a difference. These large dips, especially on strong stocks like Apple, are quickly bought up. And that's precisely what we saw at the beginning of the day today. Now you'll notice that this didn't really have an effect on the other markets. The Dow, the S&P, they're not really affected by Apple. Now the Nasdaq, on the other hand, is obviously, because it is of the techs, and that's where Apple belongs. So I'm going to show you a couple things today that we recognized, or that I recognize anyway, from the move today in Apple. So let's start where we always do, right here with the Dow. Now, once again, Dow moving up, everything pulling back into support, up, and then up again today. This was kind of a high base put in today. No reason to think that we're not going to continue higher, as we have been for how many weeks now in a row. Everything looks very good to the bull side, but I'm going to continue to stress we are very cautiously optimistic to the bull side. This looks very nice. Matter of fact, this whole move looks really nice, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, lots of white candles, the whole bit. Here's the trick. Now, we only moved from about 11.7 to 11.780-ish or so last Friday, and today we only moved from there on up till 11.858. So overall, the Dow was only up, even though it was the strongest market today. It was very strong today if you compare it to the other markets, but it was only up 50 points. Okay, there's opportunity there, but you can't call the top, you can't call the bottom, so you can't take 50 points as your profit. You have to look at it as maybe 35 to 40 points or so. Still not too bad. It's still profit to the upside, but you'll see, once again, it's just not moving all that in really big chunks. It's not 200 up today, or 150 up today, or 100 up today. A lot of really small moves by the markets to the upside. So remaining and still playing things to the upside, just remaining cautiously bullish, as we have been now for quite a few weeks. Dow daily showing that move up as well. We definitely could have a couple more days. As I've said before, this is options expiration week. Expect some volatility. But I would not be surprised at all to see this thing maybe continue upwards a little bit and absolutely bleed the bears. There's got to be a lot of people pouring themselves into puts thinking it's got to go down, it's got to go down. And the market's like, you know what, we'll go down when we're ready. And if they can keep it up like this, they are going to absolutely pound the bears and just destroy the put players that are out there that are trying to pile into puts thinking, oh yeah, we're absolutely going down. So if it stayed up all week, keep that scenario in mind. Especially if you're into puts on the markets, thinking, yeah, it's going to fall before the end of the week. If you have options that expire at the end of this week, you need to be very careful how you play those. Nothing broken here from a bull side whatsoever. Things still look just fine from a bullish scenario. NASDAQ 60-minute, here you go. There's that strength. I talked to you guys, I've told you before, I don't like to short the NASDAQ. This is precisely why. Look at this. Gap down to start the day, and it was like, yeah, we don't care. Straight up from there. Not a single red candle to be found in that entire run. It does not care. The NASDAQ is absolutely parabolic at this time. Straight up as well today. You can see where it started down here, ran itself all the way up again. This is very strong, actually. The strength is still there in the NASDAQ markets. If we're going to see a pullback, everything has to go. And right now, the NASDAQ's not showing me any signs of weakness. Neither are the markets, for that matter. But the NASDAQ in particular has remained very strong. Let's see if that maybe changes now that Apple's going to report tonight, what kind of response we get from them come the morning. But overall, NASDAQ extremely strong here. Extremely strong. As you can see, we've had basically 2 weeks of pullback within this whole thing. Yeah, there's some other red candles scattered in there, but real pullback, and it wasn't even that big of a pullback, but real pullback is right here. And that was 2 weeks since September. Yeah, that's a run. SPX 60 minutes, same type of thing, looking very good up here. Putting in a little doji candle on this last 60-minute thing, but once again, nothing broken from a bull side here. Any pushes above here, I talked about the 1290 levels. I talked about 1285, 1290, 1295, and look at what we're seeing. 1285, roll our way up to kind of 1290, huddled around there. Tested it for a few hours. Now we slowly grind our way up to 1295. Same story, different verse. So 1300 is my next overhead area. Absolutely no reason to think we can't reach that at this point. Things still looking just fine in that respect. Everything moving up. Broke this level here, and from the time we broke 1260 held, it's been nothing but up in the markets. Still very cautiously bullish. As you can see, we get not much movement, and then one decent day. Most of these come on gap ups, remember that. We get a gap up, and it runs up a little bit. By the end of the day, it looks like a big white candle, but overall, bigger picture, not really all that much to trade. Here we have a small day again, big run up. Now this one was a kind of a gap down, then a run up. It was a decent day to trade. Now we get kind of another small little day again, moving about 6 points high to low. And really, a lot of that came towards the end of the day. We saw a pretty decent run. Even after hours, the futures continued to move themselves up. So just not a lot going on except certain hours of the day. Weekly overall, we just started the week. We won't talk about those yet. VIX on a daily. This one ended up for the day. Lather, rinse, repeat, guys. Here we go again with the VIX. We see the markets up or flat. We see the VIX up. We might see another day where the VIX is up and the markets are up to flat, and then guess what happens? The VIX drops like a rock and the markets scream upwards. That's all we've seen in the past, and I have no reason to believe it won't. It'll change anytime soon. I've got to go with what it's been doing in the past. VIX on a weekly now. Once again, we're towing this blue line, but really, come on, 15, 16 on the VIX. Are you kidding me? Nobody's in any kind of a panic mode in any way, shape, or form. When this thing starts to break up above 18, 19, 20, okay, now we got something to talk about. We may start to see this type of volatility come into the market, but until I see that, whatever. Really, whatever in the markets. Nobody's scared at this point. Investors are very secure with what's going on. Okay, Apple, story of the day. What a run. All the way down here, it opens up right around this 327-ish mark or so, comes down and hits what? Go figure. One of these support lines I have drawn on the chart. So you can tell how effective these lines can be. If you have the right education and you know what you're looking for and you know what you're doing, this can make it really, really easy. Hit this thing this morning after a start at about, well, it looks like about 329-ish or so. Ran right down, hit this mark, and poof, away it went all day long, straight up. And where did it end up? Yeah, right about that 20-period moving average. So, very logical places for Apple to have run. We saw a great retest of this support line down here I have drawn in. We saw a nice end of the day right up here around the 20-period moving average. Now, people could have taken any one of these lines or this 50 as well. Great. If you did that, you still made good money if you decided to play Apple. This was a scenario I brought up to my subscribers. I myself did not take this trade. I'm just not. I've got other things that I really wanted to do instead. But a lot of people, I mentioned that this wouldn't be a bad trade to take along at the very beginning of the day. And sure enough, it ended up turning out just fine. I'm always a little skittish on these type of news, as you never know which way this thing's going to go. In this case, it was a great long at the very, very beginning of the day. Played out nicely for what? Look at this. About a 20-point run in one day. That is incredible strength. Yeah, still down $7, but whatever. When you're down at 326 to run all the way back to 344, $7, that's just really nothing in the overall picture of the fact that it was down, 25 at one point. Daily, big strong candle here. Huge volume coming in today on Apple. You can see a lot of people were, not so stressed at the open. A lot of investors coming back into it. And look what happened. Lo and behold, we ended up right back also at the top of this blue line. So you don't suppose that maybe when I was looking for overhead resistance that I might not have been kind of using different time frames and different charts to, I don't know, potentially find some overhead resistance in Apple. Yeah, is probably doing that. So once again, very important that you know what you're doing within the markets. This made things a whole lot easier for a lot of people today that had these lines drawn in to their charts. So keep these lines drawn in. If you want to learn how to do this, the mentoring is by far the absolute best way to go in that respect. FAS looking a little bit weaker today. You'll notice it was down today, so we didn't have a lot of strength from the banks overall. Financials were down, really, along with about the most today of all the sectors, down 0.29%, 0.3%. Anyway, weak today. This is not showing a lot of strength right now in the banks. So going forward, I would obviously caution you, as we talked about. Once again, using these lines very effectively. You can see right here where we hit these overhead lines. This ended up holding very nicely coming into today, pulling back to the 20 and bouncing off of that. For me, not much trading. This is an overall sideways move and not a lot of range one way or the other. I would not have been interested in trading this today. On the daily, we just got an inside candle. Not okay. Not uncommon after you have a big run up to see some consolidation. That's what we're seeing today on the daily. But the 60-minute, yeah, I don't know, just not all that strong today. FAZ, same type of situation. Saw a beautiful bounce off this lower line down here. Once again, if you're an intraday trader, these are good places to take speculative long plays. Would have played out for you today. Not my interest, not something I want to do today. As you can see, 822 being the low, 842-ish or so being the high, ending up at 832 is not the kind of trading I want to be doing. But FAZ overall hitting that bottom. Watching for once again an inside day here, just consolidation. Any further drop to the downside, watch this blue line carefully. If it'll consolidate and hold at this blue line, that's another good speculative place to get long if you're looking to somehow guess at a bottom in FAZ or guess at a top in FAS. These are good places to be watching. Overall, not much trading for me to be done today on these. All right, so that'll do it for today's trading. Still watching and waiting, looking for these areas to be broken, especially on the 20 days, waiting for some retests of these areas before maybe we can start talking about this pullback. But right now, man, the bulls are in charge. Let's see if that changes coming into this week, being it is options expiration. Talk to you later. Bye.